I do think the visibility may hinder you.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had that conversation in-house with team or internally?
White people cancel people, but white people cancel people for crimes. We cancel you because we don't like your opinion. Oh, you went to go perform for Donald Trump. You're canceled. That is such a sensitive weakness in our community that limits us from being able to really achieve a lot that we want to be able to accomplish.
When it comes to having a Black-owned product, rightfully so, we want our Black viewers and consumers to support us.
Correct.
What's been kind of the reason that you think sometimes people have neglected to support your particular platform?
Well, we have a great deal of support, but I think,
or the ones that don't support, what do you think their reasoning is?
That can be a multitude of things, but I think the disconnect between the disparity that Black people have in uplifting a business that white people don't have. So I think I ran some math not too long ago, but it's like the chances that you would walk out of your house in any city and patronize a Black-owned business are about 3%.
Right, especially off random.
Yeah. So for that reason, to support Black businesses, you have to be intentional. So it's almost like you have to direct your attention and energy to what you're going to support rather than just, I'm gonna walk outside, I just happen to support. So any business that is Black-owned is already facing, a little bit of an uphill challenge in being something that people can naturally patronize.
That's right.
We struggle with that. And then, I don't know, I hear a lot of people say sometimes that we don't necessarily believe in the quality of the product, or other businesses get grace that Black people don't. Meaning if you drive by McDonald's and the shake machine doesn't work, it's not a problem. But if you had a restaurant and the shake machine didn't work, it's like, oh, look,
that's right.
It doesn't
they
work.
Give more grace to everyone else.
Absolutely.
I like to, I want to talk about today's time. So that was kind of the reason for my current conversation. I do think the visibility may hinder you. Have you had that conversation in-house with team or internally about like being too visible where you might outshine the app itself?
Yes. And initially, so when I built the app, I built it and didn't tell anybody I built it and let it sit for a year. So no one even knew that and people were downloading the app and using the app. What changed is COVID. So I self-funded that company with my own money. So I spent $200,000 of my own money to build the app. We built it, put it on the App Store, let it sit. Right. And you want to gather. I'm the kind of person that wants to gather. Like, I don't want people to tell me no. So I already know if I go into a meeting and I say, all right, I got this app, I want you to invest into it. And they say, well, how many users do you have? And I say, I got 10,000 users.
Right.
And then they say, well, how did you get those users? And I said, oh, well, I called up this famous person and this famous person and told them to download the app. And then a VC's response will be, well, that's not organic. We want real organic users. So I didn't tell anybody that I built it and let it sit for a year.
Right.
The problem happened is that when we got to COVID, everything shut down and I was still funding the app. And so simultaneously, the idea of equity crowdfunding was presented to me, which is very, very new, but strategically down my path, my lane. And so how that worked was, and this is a bit of a story, but basically when you are raising capital for your business, you get funded by angels and VCs typically, unless you're bootstrapping. So unless you're funding yourself, you're bootstrapping, you get money from angels and VCs. So if an angel comes around and says, hey, I want to give you $200,000, Isaac, to start your business now, that would probably cost me 20% of the company. So I was like, I'm coming from the music business. So the only perspective I have on business and coming into tech is music. So I have to lay what I know about music over top of tech. Okay. And so I walked into that saying, okay, I'm an unsigned artist. Fanbase is an unsigned rapper, right? The VCs are like Def Jam and Universal. And if I just come in there and they say, hey, you got talent, kid. Right. Here's $200,000. We're going to take your publishing, your master, we're going to sign, we're going to own your name, image, and likeness, all that. And I was like, I've seen that. And I saw that happen with my dad. So I was like, I want to do that. So I'm going to save myself some money and pay for that part myself and build the company. So that's how I did that. Trademark the name, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then you get to the point where you're raising capital And again, if you take money from these VCs, they want board seats, they want control, they want to be able to dictate. So it's like being signed to a label. When you can put your album out, who you're working with, who's your manager, all that kind of stuff. And so equity crowdfunding was like, oh, I can stay independent. But the difference is when you stay independent and you raise equity crowdfunding, you have to be the face. What helped Fanbase was that there was a product in place, meaning the fact that somebody could download the app and use it. So going that extra step of creating a prototype or an MVP that people can use, which is a minimal viable product, I can say, check this out. You can say, oh, this is an app. It works. Like this isn't just some images on a PDF that you have to build. You've actually gone the step in building it, and it actually works very, very well. So for that reason, I also became an advocate for creators.
That's right.
And an advocate for Black people and Black ownership. And this is why it was important that I came out and stepped out as someone that is the face of a movement of creators having equity and ownership. Is because every other app is typically built like, oh, it comes out with a great functionality. You know, it's got stories or Instagram's filters, TikTok is this, Twitter's this. Fanbase wasn't built off that premise. We have seen in the last 20 years that, okay, apps get built, but what powers those apps? The differentiator is Black culture. So what makes them go, the gasoline to your rocket ship, is Black culture. But when these companies go public or they exit, nobody Black gets any of the money. They don't really, they're not the billionaires. So I'm saying if we literally can say, if Black culture can literally lift up Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Snapchat and TikTok, I could build the same product and we can migrate over there. But before we do, let's invest in it and own it and then scale it and rinse and repeat and do that. So then the outcome of building a platform is not only the goal of monetization for the planet, but the actual people that are early adopters and believe in what we're doing have equity in it. So that's why I have to stand out in front of it I believe that tech is tech. Tech is not Democrat, Republican, not gay, straight, Black, white, it's technology. But with Fanbase, there is this huge inequity and exploitive relationship between white culture, white tech, and Black culture. And so that has to stop. And if someone doesn't come in there and stop it, we'll always be satisfied with the few that make it and not the many that should own it.
I definitely agree with the mission. I think it's more so the process that I because I'm behind our platform. I'm visible at times. Because I think it's important that people see, hey, it's one of us. Hear from me a little bit, but I peel back because I do think it puts me in a risk factor. Like, to be candid, having to delete like tweets and IG posts and everything like that, because it's like people are gonna be looking at you. Like, the enemy wants to like not see you succeed, in my opinion. So it puts you in a risk of like a target, if you will.
Correct.
That I think that I've seen too many of us fall because of that target. So that's why I'm like, Isaac, I think that you should maybe allow the work to speak for itself. I would love to see, and this is me giving you potential customer feedback. That I think that I would love to see success stories coming from the platform of people that are making the money that you are promoting, so that they can be able to be like when you see OnlyFans, what comes out headline: Sarah Jessica Parker joins OnlyFans. She made $20 million. Those success stories, I think, drives viewership. That I would love to see more of that than you, because I think you're an important voice. To be, I think it's good to hear from you, because everybody else does. All the white boys, they do it. You hear from their founder CEOs. I just think that uphill battle, which is we're going to critique you, we're going to be your main consumer. I assume you want Black folks to.
I built Fanbase for the entire planet to use.
Yes.
The unfortunate circumstance of being a Black business owner. Is that things built by white people or Asian people are perceived to be for all people.
That's right.
Things built by Black people are perceived to be only for Black people.
Right.
So I can't just open up a business, and Atlanta's the perfect example of this.
Okay.
So, and this is why I love this city so much, and we'll get back into it. But the point is, like, if you and I were to go walk into a restaurant in New York City and LA, and we were the only two black people in the restaurant, we would feel absolutely normal with that, right? We're used to that.
Yeah.
It's normal, right? And so when that happens in Atlanta in reverse, well, you're in some great restaurant, and a white couple walks in, they look around like, am I supposed to be in here? And that is what it feels like to be a minority.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't understand that. And so I love Atlanta for that reason, because I've never felt like a minority a day in my life.
That's right.
I feel like there's black people everywhere else, and there's black people in Atlanta. And I think you don't get Martin Luther King, Maynard Jackson, Killer Mike, LaFace Records, Jermaine Dupri, Tyler Perry, The Gathering Spot, Fanbase, whatever, all these entrepreneurs that come in here that are boldly, saying we're building businesses to compete with major infrastructures, Hollywood, the music industry, social media, media corporations. You don't get that anywhere else. Nobody's doing that anywhere else in the country. There's nobody that does that. And the two things that help with that is the law that's in place by the black political infrastructure that helps that. So when Tyler Perry goes and buys 350 acres for $35 million from another black man, which that would never happen in New York and LA, because even if it was available, they weren't going to sell it to Tyler Perry. They would sell it to some other guy, some white guy to build his white studio.
That's right.
And so that energy is kind of why I'm unapologetic about being black and advocating for creatives in a way that I think some people might find like, oh, you're too out there, or you're not. And I'm like, no, that has to change, because we kind of dial it back too much, right? And I think that's what we either do one of two things. And I said this tweet before, and I'll say it again. And this is another thing that I'm careful about, because I know that the things that happen, I'm be very careful with what I say, because I'm not going to speak on any particular subject.
Okay.
But I'll say that when you are black and you build your wealth through the system of American infrastructure or white infrastructure, sometimes you get too comfortable and forget that you're black. If you make your money through, so when you hanging out with all these other people, if you got habits, if you do drugs, if you are gay, if you do all the other things, don't forget that you're a black person. Because, and a lot of times I think we forget that we're black. And being in this city has not only reminded me that I'm black, but reminded me that I'm a black majority in this city. So I don't have that type of energy. I've never felt like I've never felt like I needed the permission or the assistance of white people to accomplish what I want to accomplish. And I think a lot of black people feel that way in this city. Like Tyler Perry's like, I don't need Hollywood. I can make my movies and sell them to everybody that loves Medea and be a billionaire doing so, right?
Right.
Or build a record label, or build any kind of business that you build directly with your people. And I think that is the type of energy that, even unfortunately enough, most of us that are black in America don't understand. So as much as I built Fanbase for the black community, I understand that energy is what's going to make it successful. But I wouldn't make a platform to be in 190 country territories and iOS and Android to be only for black people.
Right. I think that market of black consumers is important, though, to that.
Yes. Well, not only
it's
that,
part of your leverage piece that you mentioned.
But the investors, the majority of people that have invested in Fanbase are black. See, that's the part that's the part that's more important, right?
Okay.
So I'll give you a prime example. And I say this story all the time, and shout out to Orrin Michaels. I have no idea who this guy is, but I know that he was a seed investor in Uber, and he put $5,000 into Uber in 2010.
Wow.
But he was already a multimillionaire because he was an accredited investor, wealthy guy. But in 9 years, when the company went public, that $5 million turned into $24 million. Right. You, me, nobody in this room ever got that phone call.
Right.
We're not going to get the phone call to invest in Facebook and Instagram and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So for me, the investment component is, and here's the thing. Even when I built Fanbase, the first thing I do is say, well, how much are these companies typically worth? So at the time, even if you look at, let's take right now, Facebook is probably a $1.5 trillion company, right? ByteDance is a $300 billion company, which is TikTok's parent company. Instagram, if they separate it away from Meta, is a $300 billion company. So you're telling me that if I could take a company from $20 million, which is the first valuation of Fanbase, to $100 billion, right? Which is still 2/3 less than what Instagram or TikTok could be. That's a 5,000x return the same way that Orrin Michaels did. So that means the people that invested $250 in Fanbase in 2020, that if we exit or IPO at 100 billion, that $250 will turn into 1.25 million. See, that will be the largest distribution of wealth to Black people in the history of America.
Right.
And I'm not going to speak on reparations, but if you want reparations, scale businesses that can be worth billions of dollars and then exit those businesses that are Black owned.
Yeah.
That is what Black people need to be doing. I said that Black people need to be investing in technology that they can leverage their culture to scale to multi-billion-dollar companies and then exit those companies. That's the play. Yeah. And you get, unless we, and like I said, unless we get a Black governor here in Georgia that wants to pass reparations, and we have a president that wants to pass reparations nationwide, that's how you get your money.
This is a great opportunity where you're sitting at in the seat of this can be a Black-owned social media platform, and that you're also coming into the right energy of this could be equity, this could be opportunities for people that would not have gotten a call about Uber.
Yeah. You know what? So when people offer critique, which is absolutely fine, the first thing that I do is look at the landscape of what exists. And so I say that Black Planet came out in 2000, right? Right. And it's 2000.
Do we even know if that was Black owned or not?
It was. Omar Wassau's Black, and but they had some investors and stuff like that. And they exited. And they might have got a little bit of money, again, learning the business. But my point is, in those 25 years from then till now, I know for a fact that there have been thousands, tens of thousands of Black people in the United States of America that have way more money than I do, that are way more intelligent than I am, that are way more successful than I am. But no one has built a social media platform to come anywhere close to Fanbase in that period of time. So how it's done, there is no blueprint or roadmap on how to do it. So everything, and one of the things that I really like about, and when I talk about that, is I look at every success story, and I love to demystify things. And so any success story that you think of, I don't care what it is, all of it is people throwing shit at the wall, and if it sticks, it works. It doesn't happen the way that people think it is. It's not these brilliant people get in a room and say X, Y, Z, da 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 da. It's somebody like the guy that prime example, I watched a show on Netflix called The Toys That Made Us. When they got the Star Wars toys, when Star Wars came out, they didn't have a deal to do the toys right before the movie came out. Kenner got, this is crazy, for every dollar that the toy made, Kenner got 95 cents. George Lucas and Fox split 2.5 cents a piece. And every other company turned them down. Hasbro, all the companies. And at the time, action figures was this big, right? Sure. So you remember how the Star Wars figures were little, right? So they go to the CEO of Kenner and say, how big are the action figures? Guy had big hands. He just goes, they're going to be this big, 3 3/4 inches. It wasn't no scientific process. He just held his hand up and he measured it. And the rest is history. Right. So all these things that people think of, the names of these great iconic cartoon characters or apps or things, people are just trying shit. Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, all these things are you just try and you figure it out along the way. Right. And then you tell the story of how screwed up it was and how you barely made it. Right. That lets everybody else know, yeah, I was the face of the company. They was tearing my ass apart. But all of these things are part of the process that make a company what it is and make it the success story that it is. Because they're gonna, there's always gonna be somebody that says this person should not do this or operate their business in this way. But I think that it's just, that's kind of the like messed up juggling act that you do on your way to success. Yeah. Now people can abysmally fail. Now what you're talking about is the lack of awareness to understand how your fame and your success can be used against you. So because you don't know who you're going to be. I told this to a friend of mine the other day that's got a bunch of tattoos, face that. I was like, you don't know if you're going to be president one day. I didn't know that I wanted to build a tech company. And I'm pretty sure people like 50 Cent didn't know he was going to go from that to being a film producer or whatever. So you might want to take those tattoos off because you never know what you're going to be. So the things you say are the things that you do, because we live in such a narrative-driven society, not a fact-based society. Your intention is never going to beat the narrative of what's out there.
That's right.
So you might as well get rid of it. So you might as well delete the tweets that you had on your page where you were saying, "Oh my God, LeBron James is the dumbest basketball player of all time," and you lined up in a room with LeBron James trying to negotiate a deal with him
Right.
because you was mad that Cleveland.
moment.
That he couldn't get it done in Cleveland. And now you're sitting across from him at a table like, yeah, I remember that tweet you said about me though in like 2008 when you were like, you're the worst player. Like that's the stuff was like, you never know. So you might as well just get rid of all that verbal diarrhea that you say, because one day you might be sitting across from your idol that you're trying to do business with, and in a stupid moment, you call them an asshole.
Right.
So just get rid of all of it. burn it all down.
Yeah, I think that's the hard thing about just navigating, being Black and navigating to certain levels at these heights of owning social media platforms, is because that's a lot of power.
It's being Black and navigating to the heights of any profession. We live by, number one, like we don't, and I said this before, and I think cancel culture is real, but I say this, and this is something that the Black community has to stop doing. And it's a trick that gets played on us all the time. White people cancel people, but white people cancel people for crimes, rape, you know what I'm saying? Some crazy stuff like that, sex trafficking. We cancel you because we don't like your opinion. Oh, you went to go perform for Donald Trump. You're canceled. We don't like the fact that you might have said this to this person. You're canceled. That is such a sensitive weakness in our community that limits us from being able to really achieve a lot that we want to be able to accomplish.
Well,
we're the strongest people on the planet. Like Black people are the strongest people on the planet. But mentally, if I can get you mad at this person and that person,
right,
and then y'all never work together, if I can get you to be mad, this is what happened. If I can get you to be mad that Al Sharpton went and sat down with Target, but didn't know Jamal Bryant was there, then I can split that movement.
That's right.
I can have people start going back, see it, and it's like, oh man. And then that's all that it is. It's a game of gaslighting. And you got to know that they're going to gaslight you. You actually, as a matter of fact, I don't know if you saw when Reginald Hudler was doing Boomerang. There's a clip online where Reginald Hudler was talking about doing Boomerang. He said, Eddie Murphy has a black lead with that wide nose and those, the broad nose and those big lips. And he's like, see, I want you to swing on me because that's what you want. Because now you do my work for me. Now you get fired, and now the movie never gets made. And that level of restraint is what we need collectively so that we're on code. So no matter what somebody says, we don't get mad. No matter what Trump says, we're not gonna crash out. None of that. We know what we're finna do. We're finna buy this business. We're finna invest in this company. We're finna run this app up the App Store, because that's what happened. If you want to talk about technology, that's exactly what happened in the election. So you familiar with Blue Sky, right? You know Blue Sky is?
Yeah, it's like an alternative to Twitter, right?
Right. So I said it before.
Or X.
Alternative to X. Trump wins, and the protest in his victory into Elon was for all the white community to go download Blue Sky and run it up to the top of the App Store. It wasn't that the app was good. It wasn't that who owned it. It didn't matter. It's just, we're going to show you the power of what we can do.
Right.
And I said, watch what they're about to do. I said this in an interview. I said, mark my words, everybody going over to Blue Sky, because they were at the top of the App Store for like 6 weeks. They got like 25 million downloads. I said, now they're going to go raise money at $1 billion valuation. And earlier this year, they went and announced they're raising a new round at $700 million valuation, simply by hitting a button called download. So the ability for Black people to change the economic outcome of their lives is literally by hitting a button that says download.
Right.
If you take the emotion out of it and said, if we want Fanbase to succeed or any business to succeed, all we have to do is hit a button that says download. So when I say the App Store charts are like the Billboard charts and Fanbase is like an independent artist, my point is saying tomorrow or whenever people see this video, if it's millions of people, they could download Fanbase, drive that app up the App Store. My phone will ring just like you trying to sign me, like they were trying to sign Kendrick Lamar and Future, and say, hey, how much money do you want for us to put into this app because it's at the top of the App Store? Well, I don't have a deal right now, so give me $100 million for 5%.
Right.
Take it or leave it.
Right.
Now Fanbase has $100 million, and now I can hire 30 developers, Black people, are all marketing teams, spend all the money and build whatever anybody wants on the planet, and you win. It has to be collective group economics in mass without any emotion attached to it. Because when TikTok went down, everybody ran a red note and ran that up the App Store.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time we were having our success and we got like, I think 400,000 downloads in a week. Everybody could have ran Fanbase up the App Store. My phone would have rang the same way. It's that, all of that, who the face of the company is, what the marketing strategy is, all of that is secondary to the sheer power and movement of people to create commerce and energy. All that is secondary. And white people do that shit all the time.
Yeah, I think
a white person could commit a hate crime tomorrow and then 2 days later have a $2 million legal fund. And they be dead wrong. Person that committed a crime doesn't matter.
Right.
They just raise the money. It doesn't matter. We don't move like that. We don't move like, I don't care about nothing. We on code regardless. We are on code for what needs to happen, because if you win, we win. And we don't talk about that enough in our community. We don't have those massive seismic shifts in protesting with our pocket. Like what's going on with Target right now is probably one of the few times we've really seen how we can affect a corporation. But something that Dr. Bryan said was important is that, okay, yeah, but we're leaving Target, but even if we go to Costco, we're putting our money back into another white business. So where's the black business that we're not going to criticize for not having the toilet paper on the shelf and say, oh, see? And it doesn't. Matter of fact, I can't think of the name of the guy. He's an African dude from South Africa. He always has the greatest commentary, but he said there's
Trevor Noah?
No. He's bald, dark skinned. I gotta remember his name. But he talked about something in the Jewish community, and he's from Africa. He says Africans do this. He said the African community does the same thing that the black community does. He says this. He says there's a practice that they have in the Jewish community called Faragin.
Okay.
And basically said the practice is, if someone outside of our community does something better and cheaper than you do, we still buy from you. That's his quote. And he goes, if you get something wrong, we come to you as a group, we tell you to fix it, and then we buy from you again. We don't do that in our community.
And so I do think that it seems, based off what I was seeing you talk about online and even now, that it is important that you want pretty much our culture, black folks, to be, your business for all. We're trying to get everybody's money. But there is a chess piece of letting people know it's black owned. So hopefully our community can support you.
If we don't, we are going to miss the opportunity to change our own circumstance. It's not even about we hope.
Yeah.
It's a mistake not to.
All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this teaser. You can watch the full interview right now at hypersclub.com, along with more behind the scenes and additional content.